Hey guys, Cam here from TodaysiPhone.com, and we're finally back with another episode of This Week on TiP. Now, you may remember it a while back. I started doing news bites during the week, and then actually in November what happened was I took over another site, Timo News, part of the Phone Dog network, which meant I had very little time to make any videos, which is why our YouTube channel has been somewhat neglected over the last couple of months. But I am pleased to announce that we've made some changes. I've changed scheduling. I've altered the focus of our editorial side of things a little bit so we're not so bogged down with lots of news that no one's really interested in. So instead, it leaves me more time to make videos, make interesting content, review apps, use tutorials, tips and tricks, all that kind of stuff. And it also means that once a week, I will be here on a Saturday rounding up this week's most important and interesting topics from the main site and also from our YouTube channel. So I really hope you enjoy these videos. Let's get to it. Now, first up in today's video, I wanted to point you towards the direction of a really cool concept that we spotted on Monday. Basically, it's a new way, somebody's imagined a new way to do multitasking. Now, currently, obviously you have to double tap your home button, which for some people is a little bit annoying when you consider that Apple is supposed to be one of the most intuitive, design focused people or companies on the planet. You think actually having to double tap a button to do anything seems very 2007. Instead, somebody designed a concept that meant that when you dragged up Control Center from the bottom of your screen, that instead of just showing the controls and the toggle switches and stuff that we already have, it would have cards along the top, fairly similar to what it looks like now, but it's all part of the same user interface, which means drag it up from the bottom, swipe through the ones that you want to see, or delete the ones that you don't want. It's a really, really cool idea, and it's something that would make iOS a lot more intuitive. It would make it easier to use, and it looks nicer too. Some of you, if you have been following me on Twitter, will know that I have been away at Barcelona at the beginning of the week. I was covering MWC for Phone Dog, and I got the chance to check out a couple of the new flagship phones from the big companies, and the two that really stood out for me were the Sony Xperia Z2 and the Samsung Galaxy S5. So what I decided to do, as a sort of comparison, I put them all in a spreadsheet, comparing all the specs, and wrote a little piece on the differences, the stuff that's going to make the difference to the consumer and the stuff that isn't. And what it boils down to, for me, with the Galaxy S5 in particular, is that the camera has been improved, not in terms of megapixels as such, but what they've done is they made autofocus really quick and snappy. They've added HDR, which means that when you're in really difficult lighting conditions, like you've got dark shadows or bright lights, and your picture comes out awful, what it does, it balances it all out, and it does it really quickly and creates a really nice image. And that for me was fantastic. And also some really cool battery saving technologies as part of the Galaxy S5's new makeup. And when it gets down to about 10%, what it does is it switches to black and white on the screen, and you'll get another day's use. So if you're nowhere near a power outlet and you need to get charge on your phone, you've got a day to do it in, which is just incredible, really. It's something that iPhone should definitely look into, because I don't know about you, but my iPhone's battery is awful, and I didn't really notice it until I'd gone away. When I'm at home behind the desk in my office, it's always in a dock, or it's always being charged throughout the day. When I say throughout the day, I don't actually leave it in charge all day long. What I do is, when I notice it gets down to about 20%, I just stick it on a dock and it's not a problem. But when I was out in MWC in Barcelona, what I found was, because I was walking around a trade show all day, trying to check things out, going online, trying to find taxis and stuff, what I found was by about 4 or 5 o'clock, my battery was almost completely dead. So I had to have a Mophie power pack or juice pack strapped to the back of my iPhone the whole time, which means Apple really needs to do something about its battery technology. It has to make a phone that's going to last me 1 or 2 days, or even if it's not 1 or 2 days, at least get me through from morning all the way until the evening, because that's something that any smartphone in this day and age really should be doing. We're about halfway through the video now, which can only mean one thing: musical interlude. Now, while I compared the specs, Stephen, one of our writers over at TodaysiPhone.com, did a great editorial on what the Galaxy S5 could mean for Apple, and even he, as an iPhone fan, Apple fan, just like me and everyone else on the site, we couldn't help but be impressed by some of the stuff that the Galaxy S5 features. And one of the ones that I wanted to talk about a little bit, apart from the stuff I've already mentioned, is the waterproof aspect and the dustproof aspect. Again, it's one of those things, it's not just a spec on a sheet. It's not just a specification for the sake of a specification. It actually makes real difference to users in real life. You go outside when it rains and you answer your phone. If it's not adequately protected, you are going to get some water damage whether you like it or not. You might not notice it for a while, but it will make a difference. If you've got a waterproofed phone, one that's going to last when it rains or in a shower, or even if you drop it down the toilet, hopefully it's a clean toilet. If that happens with a waterproof phone, it's going to be fine. But if you drop an iPhone down there, it's dead. So again, like the battery life, it's something that Apple has to look at in terms of protecting the device. Now, it's interesting how they might achieve that. I don't know. Maybe you can answer this question for me. If Apple did make a waterproof phone, how would it do that? Would it use some sort of liquid membrane in the manufacturing process, which would mean that maybe the manufacturing takes longer and they wouldn't be able to get enough out in time? Or would they do what everyone else does? And I can't imagine this at all. But could you imagine if Apple put flaps over the lightning ports and the headset to stop water getting in? I mean, I personally couldn't, but that's the way that Samsung and Sony have gone, which maybe suggests that Apple definitely won't do that. But let me know your thoughts on waterproofing, dustproofing. Do you think that that is something that Apple should consider for the iPhone 6 or the iPhone 7 or the iPhone Air, whatever they end up calling the next iPhone? What do you think? Stephen was on something of a roll this week. Another one of our most popular articles on TodaysiPhone.com was his comparison of some really great news apps. The ones that he featured in his article were Yahoo News Digest, BBC News, Newsify, Pulse, and News 360 as some of his favourites. I maybe would have added a couple of others in there, but then this is his list, and these were great apps. Now, as I was in Mobile World Congress earlier in the week, I did actually get a chance to look at some cool stuff that was out for the iPhone, and one of those was the new OtterBox Symmetry case, which I have here. Now, what's different about this compared to all the other OtterBox cases is it's really slim, but it's still got the two material build quality. In the inside, it's got the stiffer kind of rubber. On the outside, you've got the hard polycarbonate. I had it on my phone for a couple of days before my iPhone started dying and I had to swap it out for the Mophie. But this is a fantastic case and it's something you should definitely consider. That for this week on TiP. I've been Cam. You can ask me anything you like on Twitter. I'm at TiP_Cam. I will see you again soon.